Part 9. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 81. Chapter 81. Am I familiar with you? Zhang Qinzi is the young master of the Zhang family in Beijing. The students at Lingyang High School are somewhat afraid of him, but a few of them covered their mouths and laughed without fear. Zhang Qinzi is handsome, but in front of Yaking Han, he looks like a big witch and a small witch. He is not good enough at all. Yaking Han. Zhang Qinzi looked out the window and his heart skipped a beat. How could that person from the Yejia in Beijing come to teach at Lingyang High School? The words Yaking Han are extremely prestigious even in the capital. Zhang Shenghua reminded him more than once that he must be on good terms with Yaking Han and must not antagonize the Ye family. He went through a lot of hard work and delayed a lot of relationships but could not successfully see Yaking Han. Feng Ling actually saw Yaking Han every day. Zhang Qinzi is really injured. Heartbreaking. He sat in his seat with a dark face, preparing to ask Feng Ling for Yaking Han's contact information after the exam. He has been involved in the affairs of Bai Lian and Huo Yu. Recently, his father doesn't like him at all, and even his living expenses have been reduced a lot. If you can get Yaking Han to follow him, your father will definitely be impressed by him. The Chinese language test lasted 2.5 hours. When the end bell rang, Feng Ling was living in a house made of RMB in her dream. Just when he was about to sit back and eat the mountain, he turned into nothing. Looking up, you will see a long, slumped figure. Feng Ling rubbed her eyes and focused on the figure. Zhang Qinzi? Why is it you? I have something to ask you, come with me. If it weren't for Yaking Han, he wouldn't want to have anything to do with Feng Ling. Zhang Qinzi snorted coldly and walked out of the classroom. Feng Ling curled her lips, said nothing, and walked to the corner. My defeated general, tell me what happened and see if I can feed you a sip of milk. Feng Ling, when will you be able to say something serious? Is this what a girl should say if she feeds her milk every now and then? It's simply shameless. It's exactly the same as before. Zhang Qinzi's face was filled with disgust. Oh, it's okay, I'll go then. Feng Ling put his hands in his pockets, like a gangster. But it is exceptionally stylish. Zhang Qinzi gritted his teeth and went up to hold her. Give me Yaking Han's contact information, and then you can leave. Why, I know you very well. That man's contact information could buy several houses if she put it up for sale. Now let her give him the contact information of that man directly. Is your mind okay? Feng Ling, if you give me Yaking Han's contact information, then I will reluctantly agree not to break off the engagement with you for the time being. What, you want to break off the engagement? Feng Ling, who was about to leave, stopped. Zhang Qinzi looked at her shocked look and puffed up his chest. What? Are you scared? Although I did want to break off the engagement with you. After all, you are indeed not worthy of me, but if you can. Back off, back off, back off now. Feng Ling took out a piece of scrap paper from her bag, which seemed to be the scrap paper from the math test. She scribbled 2 words on it and handed it to Zhang Qinzi. What do you mean? Yes, we really don't match, the difference is too big. Especially since Xiao Wujiang is now crooked and it is very troublesome to set his bones, she does not want to give him free bone setting. Zhang Qinzi, Feng Ling. Do you know what you are doing? I know, break off the engagement. Feng Ling put the pen back in her bag and smiled brightly. Don't forget to tell your cheap dad that I'm very busy and have to leave. Feng Ling. Brother Qinzi, do you have anything to do with your sister? End of this chapter. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 82. Chapter 82. One more is too tiring. Feng Shuang appeared from the corner and walked slowly to Zhang Qinzi's side, with a smile on his face and a soft voice. Brother Qinzi, do you have anything to do with your sister? She was planning to carry her books back to the examination room after the exam, but she found Zhang Qinzi and Feng Ling walking alone together. This made Feng Shuang's vigilance suddenly rise to the top. Especially when she saw Feng Ling and Zhang Chenzi chatting with smiles on their faces, she felt as if a thorn had been stabbed in her heart. Zhang Chenzi was in a particularly bad mood today. Even when he met Feng Shuang's tearful and affectionate eyes that made people want to put them in their arms for protection, he didn't have any thoughts. He only softened his tone slightly and said, "Nothing. When will your single be released?" "It's coming soon, it's this weekend." Feng Shuang pursed her lips. "Brother Chenzi, I will hold a press conference for the single this weekend. Can you come and see me?" The hands in her sleeves were clenched tightly together. She raised her head and looked expectantly at the man in front of her, her eyes full of admiration and admiration. Probably because this look calmed down the anger he suffered from Feng Ling, Zhang Chenzi quickly nodded, "Okay, I will go see you and behave well so as not to embarrass the Zhang family." This is a direct recognition of Feng Shuang's identity. Feng Shuang's heart skipped a beat, followed by a burst of ecstasy. She nodded hurriedly and said, "Brother Chenzi, don't worry, I will never let you down." The songwriter of this song was written by Wei Ming, the apprentice of the world-famous songwriter Feng Qi. As mentioned above, Wei Ming's strength is not inferior to Feng Qi's, and he can completely crush all the songs released this year. In addition, the professional sound engineer hired by the company this time will definitely be fine. She will definitely win the first place on the new song list this time. "Little ancestor, have you finished writing your song?" "Well, I'll send you the demo later and you can listen to it if possible. I'll choose it as the title song of Ningshu's Yexuan album." Feng Ling walked to the school gate, took a taxi, and continued chatting with Ningshu's manager Gu Bei. She lowered her head and sent over the demo she had saved in the morning, including the lyrics and music of the entire song. The demo was recorded by herself. Feng Ling has always been afraid of trouble, so she recorded all the demos by herself. Gu Bei received it instantly. The first thing he opened was not the folder of lyrics and music, but the demo that Feng Ling sent. A cold female voice came to my ears along the speakerphone of the mobile phone. "Ningshu's Yexian album has been in preparation since last year, but it has not been released because of the lack of a title song. Different from other songs in the album, the melody of this song is full of depression, restraint, and despair. The first half almost magnifies and re-amplifies the heart of a person who has been forced to the extreme by life. But in the last few sentences, there was excitement that broke through the darkness, and a bit of sadness that Gu Bei couldn't understand yet." However, even this was enough to make Gu Bei's blood boil. "Little ancestor, sometimes, I really feel that your songs are wasted for others to sing." He has received so many demos from Little Ancestor. Others can never sing the feeling of Little Ancestor. Her voice is very special, as if it comes from the sky, overlooking the world, vast and boundless. After hearing this, Feng Ling only smiled faintly and said, "I have enough vests, one more one would be too tiring. But I think you are right, I can sing pretty well." Gu Bei. She's still the arrogant girl he knew. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 83. Chapter 83 Lonely Ghost. By the way, Little Ancestor, Ningshu will hold a small concert this weekend, and Broken Light will be sung for the first time at the concert. Do you want to come and support it? This is Ningshu's first real concert in the music industry. The venue is not big, but it is enough to make many fans crazy. If Feng Qi, the songwriter of Broken Light, can come, this concert will definitely be a historic victory. Gu Bei thought for a while and then suggested, "Little Ancestor, if you can sing Broken Light with Ningshu, I'm afraid the entire music circle will go crazy." Gu Bei, you are getting more and more cunning now. When she met him and Ningshu in the alliance, he was still a submissive child. Sure enough, things are different and people are different. Fenling sighed, and then agreed, I can. I'll go and talk to Ning Shu on Saturday and tell her to be well prepared and be careful lately. Well, don't worry, it will happen. Gu Bei glanced once and said in a solemn tone, "Zero, there is news from the Special Intelligence Agency that someone is restless. Yang Chen is already in chaos, and Luoken is probably not far away. Luoken is the closest place to Yang Chen, and it is also the place where the group of people are most likely to target. I know, I'll handle it. Where's the alliance?" No return. Fenling refused. When she left the alliance, the old man said that he would never let her go back. She wants to go back now, not to make those people laugh. What's more, the current alliance is not peaceful either. Fenling's eyes were dark and she didn't know what she was thinking. The sound of the accelerator brought Fenling back. When he looked up again, the outside world had become a strange place. Fenling narrowed her eyes. Where are you taking me? This road runs counter to where she wants to go, Emperor Ling. Ahead, the driver didn't speak, just stepped on the accelerator, faster and faster, and the city became smaller and smaller behind Fenling until it disappeared. GGG. A creepy laugh came from the driver's mouth. The car stopped. The driver turned his head and looked at Fenling. His eyes were no longer ordinary black, but were strangely red, as scarlet as blood. Special ability person, alien species. Fenling sneered. She had just finished talking to Gu Bei about being careful, but she unexpectedly found a way to use the alien species. It was really a mistake. Don't say I'm a different species, I'm the ruler of the future world. That's what the aliens say. With the development of the times, many people with special abilities have appeared in Blue Star, so the Alliance has formed a special alliance to specifically control people with special abilities. However, some people with special abilities are not satisfied with their unique abilities. After they discovered that they could enhance their abilities by sucking human blood, they continued to commit crimes around the world. This is also the reason why the Alliance has been so busy and dizzy these years, and the parents don't recognize it. She has handled many cases involving alien species, but this is the first time an idiot like this is so upright and directly attacks her. Fenling touched her face. Was it her appearance that made them think she was easy to bully? Grandson, I'll give you another chance to put down the butcher's knife and become a Buddha immediately. Otherwise, you will just become a lonely ghost. Fart, the driver spat, showing a lustful expression. I'm so lucky today to meet such a beautiful sister. Sister, do you have a boyfriend? If not, then consider your brother. End of this chapter. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 84. Chapter 84 Luo City, is restless. Do you know that what you are now is worse than that? Fenling raised her finger and hooked it. The man looked in the direction of her finger. It was a caterpillar that had been crushed to death by something unknown. Its juices seeped out all over the floor. It was dried out under the baking of the sun. Little girl, do you dare to say that labor and capital are ugly? Then labor and capital will let you see the power of people with special abilities. The man's eyes flashed red, and the whole workshop was filled with the smell of human blood, which was very unpleasant. Fenling's eyes cooled down little by little. This man was responsible for many innocent lives. You deserve to die. In Fenling's pupils, the originally thin man's muscles grew little by little, like an inflated ball covering all parts of his body. A special ability is a variant of strength. Fenling looked at all this indifferently, with a careless smile on her lips. You can't wait to go out to play when you haven't grown up. Didn't your dad tell you not to mess with people you shouldn't mess with outside? Fenling twisted her wrist and loosened her muscles. Her black pupils were covered with red for an instant. However, unlike the man's red, Her red was spotless and as beautiful as glass. Grandson, it's scary to play games to annoy the nanny. You too. The man was surprised, but only for a moment, and returned to his gloomy state. A little girl, even if she is a person with special abilities, so what? It's even better. By sucking the blood of this little girl, he can improve even more. From now on, Logo City will be his world. Thinking about this, the man roared, and with the body of the car torn apart, he rushed straight towards Feng Ling's life gate. Ran. Just when he thought he was going to hit Feng Ling, the girl in front of him suddenly disappeared. By his ears, a voice that made the hair on the man's hair stand on end sounded, "I told you not to mess with the nanny, but it's a pity that you didn't listen. You." The man's pupils shrank sharply, his body felt a sharp pain, and his consciousness disappeared instantly. Only the faint rise and fall of his chest proved that he was still alive. Feng Ling looked at the rotten flesh on the ground with disgust, and touched the device beside her ear. An alien was found in the wasteland 60 kilometers northeast of Logo City. He wants to harass me. I have subdued him and sent someone to deliver him as soon as possible. Prison. Zero stay. After hanging up the phone, Feng Ling put the phone in her pocket and walked towards the woods not far away. The speed of Turlin is very fast, it is too late to take a taxi now. The people from the Special Alliance hurried over and saw the hair on the ground of a man with more air coming out and less air coming in. How should I put it, it was the operation of their master Ling. The doctors at Tyrian are going to be busy today. It doesn't look like it's easy to save. But it is true that not many people could survive in the hands of Lord Ling in the past. Take away. Yes. Before boarding the helicopter, the leader of the team subconsciously glanced at the woods not far away, and then led the team away. Until the helicopter completely disappeared from the sky, Feng Ling slowly appeared in the wilderness. She was holding the Alliance's exclusive communication device on her cell phone, and Logo City was restless. The results of the joint entrance examination for 3 high schools in Los Angeles have been released. Wang Haihong received the news early in the morning that the first and second placers in this year's joint entrance examination in Los Angeles were both in his school. He was so excited that he didn't sleep all night. Early in the morning, people were organized to decorate the school with lanterns and decorations, just like marrying off a daughter. The moment Feng Ling stepped into the school, she had great doubts about Wang Haihong's aesthetics. The principal of Lingyang High School, does he have something wrong with his eyes? Fu Su walked around Feng Ling from behind and asked. End of this chapter. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 85. Chapter 85. Why is it only 145 points? Feng Ling said expressionlessly, maybe, I'm not familiar with it, so I'm leaving. Fu Su's expression was a little cracked. Are you not familiar with the old man Wang Haihong? Who believes it? Looking at the red hydrangea in front of him that looked like a wedding, Fu Su twitched his mouth. Okay, he wasn't familiar with it either. Xianian had just entered the office in the morning when he heard someone discussing Lingyang High School's lowest score in the joint entrance examination. I heard that the total score of several subjects is only 150. Xianian thought of Feng Ling first. In an instant, I lost all interest in knowing the average score of my class. Feng Ling has passed the test like this, what hope does there have for the average score in the class? Definitely at the bottom. Xianian had a stinky face, holding the lesson plan and the exam papers on her desk, ready to go to class. He bumped into Joji who had just come in. Hey, Teacher Xia, what's wrong? Class 9's grades are still at the bottom of the pile this time. She glanced at the test paper in Xianian's arms. It was covered so well by Xianian that she couldn't see the scores on it. I know that it must be a shameful thing. Joji sneered, oh, I don't know what happened to our class. Although the average score is still first, it is still 2 points lower than last time. This group of children really don't know how to study well unless they are given some support. Oh, I'm sorry, Teacher Xia, I didn't mean to irritate you, so don't think too much about it. No, Xiaonian struggled and tugged at the corners of his lips. I still have classes, Teacher Zhou, I'm leaving first. Xiaonian turned around and wanted to leave the office, but obviously, Zhouji didn't want to let Xiaonian go. She reached out and grabbed the test paper in Xiaonian's arms. Oh, Teacher Xia, don't leave in a hurry. You're class 9 this time. How was your exam? Our Lingyang High School ranked first in the joint entrance examination this time, and your class 9 students should have made progress too. Don't. During the fight between the two, the test papers were scattered on the floor, and a bright red test paper faintly fell from the air and landed in front of the two of them. Fenling, 148. Xiaonian. Is her eye broken? Zhouji, this is impossible. How can that be possible? Fenling, didn't she never even go to the first year of high school? How could she get such a high score in the exam? Teacher Xia, Teacher Zhou, what are you doing? Originally, the representative of the Chinese class was Shi Xian, but today Shi Xian was sick and had a bad cold, so Fu Su came to get the test papers for him. He walked up to the two of them, glanced at the two women who were stunned at the scene strangely, and then picked up the most conspicuous test paper. I was deeply hurt afterwards. Is the little ancestor so annoying? In order to show that you are a normal person, you deliberately left 2 blank lines unfilled, and the rest are all full marks. Are you a human? No, no, no. Fu Su sighed. His little ancestor was destined not to be an ordinary person. Mortals like him have to get used to it. He lowered his head to put all the test papers together. On the way, he saw his 145 paper, and his heart felt calm. He will never be as good as his little ancestor. Fu Su sighed again and said with emotion, oh, why is it only 145? As long as there are 3 more points, that's fine too. Xiaonian. Zhouji. Classmate, I suspect you are here to provoke us. 140 things like Chinese are already magical, but you 145 are still not satisfied. Teacher Xia, would you like to go to the classroom together? Okay. Xiaonian obviously hadn't come back to his senses yet, so he responded in a daze. The way he walked was very stiff, and he was obviously knocked unconscious by the pie falling from the sky. I was still giggling when I walked to the classroom, which was quite shameless. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 86. Chapter 86. He is still a child. Fu Su followed behind, wanting to remind Xiaonian to pay attention to his image, but thinking about it, it would be good to let Xiaonian adapt to being crazy now, because... Fu Su glanced at the girl sleeping on the table in the corner. Well, Xiaonian should be hit even harder later. Xiaonian stood on the podium in a daze before finally coming back to his senses, clearing his throat, looking at the group of children below and saying, next, those whose names I read will come up and get the test papers. Xiaonian put Fenling's test paper aside. Well, Fenling wanted to focus on praising her today, so she had to put it at the end. Fu Su, 145. Thank you, teacher. After Fu Su took the test paper, he paused and said, Teacher Xia, do you want me to read it? No, it's okay, the teacher can do it. Is it really possible? Fu Su was quite suspicious because when he picked up the test paper. Forget it, she said yes. Fu Su's grades were already good, and there was nothing to question, so no one was surprised to hear Fu Su's score. They sat obediently in their seats, already so nervous that they pinched each other. After all, this is not an ordinary exam, they made a bet with class 1. Either you die or I die, we must not lose. Ran. Teacher, what's wrong? Did we do poorly in the exam? Teacher Xia. Everyone waited for a long time, but did not hear Xia Nianbao's next name. No. Nothing. Xia Nian looked at the numbers in front of him and felt his eyes were a little dark. It was an accident. It must be an accident. Ahem, Shi Xin, 105. Ah, I've exceeded 100, I actually passed 105. Tossed out 105. Shi Xin jumped up from his chair. Although he was a Chinese class representative, he had never scored more than 100 points in a test. A harsh sound sounded, and Feng Ling woke up from her dream with sleepy eyes. She looked at Shi Xin and felt an urge to beat him up. Shi Xin. Is it too late to admit my mistake now? There is progress this time, keep working hard next time. Okay Xioxia. Shi Xin saluted, then grinned at Feng Ling, Boss Feng, I passed the exam. Yeah, Feng Ling responded lightly, without any disturbance. Shi Xin curled his lips. Brother Feng, like Brother Su, was very indifferent to his child and didn't feel any pain at all. Next, Yelamo, 120. You did well on the exam. Just when Shi Xin turned around, he saw Feng Ling patting Yelimo's shoulder gently, with a smile on his face. That kind of gentleness, like the spring breeze blowing on the face, the confirming eyes, is something he can't have. Shi Xin is aggrieved, he is the eldest son and favors sons over daughters. The child sat down aggrievedly, and heard Fu Su next to him say, You, Mr. Feng, are Chinese 148. Boom. There was a loud noise. Everyone looked over and saw that Shi Xin's chair was torn apart. Shi Xin, are you okay? No, it's okay. A hand stretched out from behind the desk and waved with difficulty. He was just hurt, nothing. Fu Su curled his lips, pulled him up from the ground, and wrote lightly, Why are you so shocked? You, Boss Feng, left out 2 lines of poetry out of sympathy for you. Shi Xin. Can someone silence Brother Su? He is still a child, why should he suffer such a blow? Shi Xin looked down at the numbers on the test paper and realized that the words 105 didn't look very good. End of this chapter. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 87. Chapter 87. The birth of a tragedy is enough. Xia Nian was in high spirits during this class. This time, Class 9's scores were exceptionally good. The average score of the entire class in Chinese alone is 85. Although it has not reached the passing mark, what you need to know is that the average Chinese language score of Class 9 is even more difficult to reach 80. Xia Nian subconsciously glanced at the girl in the corner. She was still like that, wearing headphones and playing with her phone with her head down. She didn't look like a good student at all. Xia Nian couldn't figure it out from beginning to end that such a student could actually take the first place in the school in Chinese. She thought that when the results came out, Feng Ling would understand the cruelty of reality, but now it seems that she is the one who has been slapped in the face. Xia Nian's next class was mathematics, and right after class, Ye Qinghan showed up uninvited with papers in hand. It's not that I'm very dedicated, it's because it seems that I haven't seen the little girl for a while. Luo City has been uneasy recently, and he has to keep an eye on his children at all times to prevent them from being abducted. Teacher Ye. Teacher Ye, how was their math test? They weren't holding back, were they? Xia Nian was a little nervous. If she only passed the Chinese test, it would be useless no matter how much she did. She still couldn't get rid of the title of head teacher of the last class. Ye Qinghan looked cold and asked, What do you think? I Xiaonian was speechless for a moment and opened his mouth. He wanted to say that they should have done well in the test this time, but when he thought about their previous scores, maybe this time's Chinese score was just an accident. She didn't need to be slapped in the face in front of so many people. It doesn't matter. My average score in Chinese is pretty good. I should be able to pull it back a little. After finishing speaking, the man in front of her passed by, and Xiaonian felt dozens of eyes behind her focused on her, a feeling of sadness that turned from expectation to loss. Xiaonian tightened his grip and resisted the urge to look back. They should recognize the reality. They were poor students. How could they compare with that soaring phoenix? In reality, an ugly duckling will always remain an ugly duckling and cannot become a white swan. Xiaonian seemed to have thought of something, gritted his teeth and took steps. Behind her, Yeking Han's mechanical and emotionless voice read the score, Fengling, 150. What? Xiaonian froze when he saw the girl in the corner taking off her earphones and waving her hand. I know, you don't need to give me the paper. The question 1 + 1 = 2 is not interesting for her. Yeking Han raised his eyebrows, folded Fengling's test paper and put it in his pocket, and continued to read the name, Shi Xin, 96. Labor and management have passed the test again. As soon as Shi Xin jumped up, he heard Yeking Han follow, Fusu 148. Yeli Mo 126. Shi Xin, can't these people just be human beings? Xiaonian was almost petrified listening to one name after another. So, the lowest score this time is not in their class. So, maybe their class average score this time can really break the title of the last class. Beside the bed, the girl seemed to be tired from playing games, and she lay quietly on the table. When she closed her eyes, she was very peaceful, like an elf falling into the mortal world, so exquisite that no one wanted to destroy her beauty. I'm sorry. Xiaonian walked to her side and murmured softly. The girl fluttered her eyelashes and suddenly opened her eyes, apologized to them, I don't need it. She is an alien from this school, just a passerby. She is willing to help people in this class, not because of a holy mother's heart, but because there is no need for the world to have another tragedy like hers. The birth of a tragedy is enough. End of this chapter. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 88. Chapter 88. Please take a leave for me. Fengling plugged in her headphones and walked out of the classroom. I have something else to do, please help me take a leave. Before Xiaonian agreed, the girl shook away. As for Yeking Han, that dog is none of his business. Yeking Han, yes, it's quite sad. Grade 3, Class 1. Li Yishan looked at her scores with a bad look on her face. There had been a big change in her family recently. Her father's company was suddenly discovered for tax evasion and was investigated. Her mother's store also had problems due to quality problems. They became poor people who could only feed themselves with food and clothing. Many people in the class started to stay away from her and isolate her after knowing about it. Although Feng Shuangshuang still treated her the same as before, but she held the test paper tightly with her fingers. The originally flat test paper was wrinkled by her pinching. She looked at Feng Shuangshuang beside her. She had 138 in Chinese, 140 in mathematics, 146 in English, 136 in liberal arts and science, and 140 in science. He is the first in class this time. The number one in the school is probably Feng Shuangshuang. Shuangshuang, you did really well in the exam this time, Li Yishan said with envy in her tone. It's nothing, it's not good enough. I will work harder so that I can participate in national competitions with everyone. After the national competition, the top 10 students are eligible to give priority to schools and be admitted directly. I heard that the Imperial Conservatory of Music will also recruit students. She must go to the national examination. Feng Shuangshuang was determined to win and completely ignored Li Yishan's mood. Li Yishan smiled but said nothing. The screen of the mobile phone hidden in her school bag lit up. Li Yishan quietly reached in and clicked on the screen. Shan Shan, Mom and Dad have been busy recently and have not been back. They have left you 1000 yuan for living expenses. You can use it sparingly. Mom and Dad will meet you in a month. I'll pay you for your living expenses. Save some money, 1,000 yuan, what can I buy? One designer bag is not enough. Li Yishan turned off her phone in anger. Feng Shuangshuang noticed Li Yishan's abnormality and asked casually, "Who sent you a text message?" Advertisement, nothing. Li Yishan pulled up the chain of her school bag. Feng Shuangshuang nodded without any doubt, "I don't know how my sister did in the exam. I promised my aunt that I would help my sister. If she does not do well in the exam, my aunt will be angry." Feng Shuangshuang looked sad. Normally, Li Yishan and Feng Shuangshuang would definitely complain about Feng Ling, but now, the words of complaint are spoken, but they can't say anything. Who knows, Li Yishan laughed. She panicked when she thought of the smile on Feng Ling's face that seemed to control the world. She didn't know why, but she always felt that the changes in her family had a lot to do with Feng Ling. But, how could it be? Is Feng Ling just an orphan who has lost his parents? Li Yishan looked in a trance. In the morning, after all the classes finished explaining their test papers, the school's ranking list was placed in the most conspicuous place at the school gate, surrounded by Wang's Haihong with a big red bouquet. There is a strange beauty. Today Tian Hui specially drove to pick up Feng Shuangshuang. As soon as she got off the car, she looked at the door holding a bouquet. When she saw Feng Shuangshuang coming from the crowd, she hugged her directly. "We are both really smart, and our grades are getting better and better now." "Auntie, I'm not as good as you said." Feng Shuangshuang blushed, "it's just that I was lucky this time. If I want to stay in first place next time, I have to work hard." Feng Shuangshuang has already decided that she will be second if not first. After all, she heard that Fusu from class 9 did well in the exam this time. Tian Hui listened to Feng Shuangshuang's humble tone, nodded with satisfaction, and sighed again. "If that girl Su Zioxi was half as good as you, I wouldn't be so annoyed." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 89. Chapter 89 Apology. Auntie, don't say that. Xiao 11 has been working very hard recently. When Feng Shuangshuang said this, her eyes drifted not far away, where Su Zioxi had just come out of school. Hearing Tian Hui's words, he stood there without moving, not knowing what he was thinking. "It's just a fake study, forget it. My aunt doesn't expect her to get anything out of the exam. Let's go and take my aunt to see the list. I'll be happy." "Okay," Aunt Feng Shuangshuang took Tian Hui's arm affectionately. Su Zioxi clearly saw the sarcasm in Feng Shuang's eyes. She kicked her hands in her pockets and held them tightly, as if she wanted to smash the folded test papers in her pockets. This time the three schools took the joint entrance examination for senior high school students, and they also took the exam. "Su Zioxi, when will you learn from your sister Shuangshuang? Don't let me worry so much." "Su Zioxi, you are such a big man, can you understand something? It's just fake hard work." Tian Hui's voice drowned Su Zioxi in the crowd. People kept passing by, and people kept talking to their parents about exams, but she could no longer hear anything clearly. Su Zioxi sat down under a big tree in the school garden and called Su Ming. The phone was quickly connected, and Su Ming's tired voice came, "Xiao 11, what's the matter?" "Nothing, I just want to tell you that I got into the top 50 in my grade this time." Su Zioxi carefully took out the torn test paper from her pocket. She should be happy, right? That's good. Go back and ask your mother to cook you a delicious meal to celebrate. Dad has something to do here, so I'll hang up now and wait for him to bring you a gift. Su Ming seems to be really busy with something. Su Zioxi nodded sensibly. Well, see you soon, Dad. Do. The hand holding the phone dropped, Su Zioxi lowered her head, and the bright red in front of her eyes seemed particularly dazzling. Delicious. It will only be given to Feng Shuangshuang. Su Zioxi stood up and ran away from the mother and daughter without any hesitation. In front of the list, Feng Shuangshuang and Tian Hui stared blankly at the two words after number 1, unable to move a step. Feng Ling? How could it be Feng Ling? How could it be Feng Ling? Red bloodshot threads spread little by little in Feng Shuangshuang's eyes. Now, even if anyone tells her that this is just a person with the same name. However, she knew clearly that this was Feng Ling. There was only one person named Feng Ling in class 9, grade 3. This is impossible. First place, Feng Ling. Second place, Fu Su. Third place, Feng Shuangshuang. It's ridiculous that she worked so hard but was still suppressed in third place. Still ranked third by someone she looked down upon. How did Feng Ling do so well in the exam? I don't know. Feng Shuangshuang suppressed her inner panic and shook her head. Maybe my sister has been reviewing seriously recently. After all, she missed 3 years of school. How could it be possible to get such a high score after missing 3 years? Tian Hui didn't believe it at all. She rolled her eyes and patted her thigh. She must have cheated. This girl knows how to embarrass me outside. What should I do if I am discovered? Tian Hui looked around and found Feng Ling walking with Yeking Han not far away. She pushed aside the crowd and rushed over. Feng Ling, great, you have learned how to plagiarize now. I really belong to you. Do you know how much shame the Su family will lose if the plagiarism is exposed? You come with me to apologize to the principal now, immediately. End of this chapter. The max level boss is too cruel. Author, Fire Otter. Chapter 90. Chapter 90. Never be slandered. Tian Hui yelled at Feng Ling like a crazy woman. It was time for school to end, and there was a large flow of people. Coupled with Tian Hui's unabashed voice, the surrounding students and parents stopped and looked over. A hint of irritation appeared in Feng Ling's eyes. She promised Gu Bei today to go and listen to Ning Shu's performance. Who told you that I plagiarized? Huh, you think I don't know you? You've been in prison for 3 years, and you've only been in class for a month. You haven't even finished the first year of high school, right? Can you be ranked first in the school? Feng Ling, do you think we are all fools? Tian Hui had no intention of covering up Feng Ling. From her point of view, Feng Ling was already so shameless, so why was she covering her up with a fig leaf? What, from prison? Oh my God, how can such a student be admitted to school? Yeah, what if I commit something? The crowd around them took a step back in understanding, leaving a large circle around Feng Ling and Tian Hui. Only Feng Shuangshuang and Yeking Han were still with them. Feng Ling's expression was calm, and she even whistled at Tian Hui. You also know that I am number 1 in the school. She took a step closer and said, since I am number 1 in the school, who should I copy? Who can copy it for me? Oh, by the way, the second best student in the school is not in the same examination room as me. Just when Tian Hui wanted to say Fu Su's name, Feng Ling blocked her back. The girl in front of her is confident and flamboyant, with her hands in her pockets, standing lazily at an angle, her hair draped over her shoulders, and smiling perversely. Tian Hui hated Feng Ling's behavior, as if she was a clown in front of Feng Ling and didn't care what she said. Unable to stop Feng Ling's words, Tian Hui simply broke the pot and said, in short, you are plagiarizing. Our Su family cannot have someone like you who destroys the lintel. You must come with me to apologize. Apologize to everyone. She reached out to pull Feng Ling, but the girl dodged her. Looking over again, the girl's eyes have become cold, her eyes are extremely black, and there is even a flash of red light. Her whole person exudes an aura that is not to be approached by strangers, and is charming and treacherous. Yeking-han unexpectedly glanced at the child next to him. His emotions fluctuated so much. It seemed like this was the first time in a long time. The last time he saw her, it seemed like. He gently put his hand on Feng Ling's shoulder, pulled the child behind him, and pushed up his glasses without prescription. Madam, this time Feng Ling got full marks in all subjects except Chinese, and the solution to the last math question uses advanced math formulas from the university, so there is no possibility of plagiarism. This is one of the reasons. A confidentiality agreement was signed for this time's questions. All teachers who asked the questions were under closed management during the exam. It is impossible to have any open questions. This is the second reason. Finally, according to my understanding, classmate Feng Ling does not live in the Su family now, and has never used a penny from the Su family. Madam, where do you come from with this statement that you keep ruining the lintel of the Su family? The century-old history of Lingyang High School can be surpassed and compared, but it can never be slandered. Please also leave with the good students in your eyes. High numbers, no wonder I got full marks. What does this woman mean? Doing well in the exam means plagiarism. I don't want to die of joy if my child succeeds in the exam. How can I suspect my child of plagiarism? Didn't I say that I'm not my biological child? No wonder, partiality is real. End of this chapter.